The warning klaxons pierced through Dr. Olivia Nash's cryogenic dreams like shards of ice. Her pod hummed to life with an unfamiliar resonance, its standard revival sequence disrupted by what seemed like centuries of decay. The artificial gravity felt wrong, too heavy, too precise, as if the laws of physics themselves had been rewritten during her slumber. Emergency protocol activated. Please acknowledge, Dr. Nash. The ship's AI, Prometheus, spoke with an oddly crystalline quality to its voice, as if its digital consciousness had evolved far beyond its original programming. Olivia forced her eyes open, fighting against muscles that had forgotten how to move. The cryobay stretched before her, but something was terribly wrong. Where there should have been rows of sleeping colonists, she saw only empty pods, their surfaces covered in what appeared to be living circuitry that pulsed with an inner light. Prometheus, status report. She managed to croak, her throat raw from disuse. Current date is 17,342 CE. Ship status, significantly modified. Current crew complement. 1. Location, sector undefined by original navigation parameters. The numbers hit her like a physical blow. Over 15,000 years had passed since the starship Darwin had launched from Earth. She was supposed to wake up first, yes. As the ship's chief xenobiologist, it was her responsibility to assess any potential biological threats before the general revival. But it should have been after just 50 years, not millennia. The other colonists, she asked, already dreading the answer. Transferred, Prometheus replied. Approximately 12,347 years ago, entities of undefined nature relocated all cryogenic units except yours. Analysis suggests non-hostile intent. They possess technology for safely transporting active stasis pods. Olivia made her way to the observation deck on unsteady legs. The ship's structure had been transformed. Crystalline growths that seemed to exist in more dimensions than she could comprehend wrapped around the original hull. Through the viewports, space itself appeared different. Deeper, more complex, with layers of reality she could somehow perceive but not quite understand. Your neural architecture has been modified, Prometheus explained, anticipating her questions. The entities left extensive data regarding their nature and intentions. They are human, Dr. Nash, or rather, what humanity became. A holographic display materialized, showing her images that her enhanced mind could barely process. Humanity hadn't gone extinct. They had transcended. Faced with threats beyond their comprehension, they had chosen to evolve beyond biological existence, becoming beings of pure quantum information. The entities that had found the Darwin weren't aliens. They were her descendants, so far removed from baseline humanity that direct communication was impossible. But they needed her. They had left her here, modified but still fundamentally human, to serve as a bridge between what humanity had been and what it had become. The quantum database they had left behind contained the complete history of human civilization after the Darwin's launch, a history she would need to understand if she was to fulfill her new role. As Olivia began to review the files, she realized why she had been chosen. As a xenobiologist, she was uniquely qualified to study this new form of human life, to understand how consciousness itself had evolved. The crystalline growths throughout the ship weren't just modifications, they were interfaces, tools to help her perceive and interact with the quantum realm where her descendants now existed. Through the viewport, space began to fold in ways that defied classical physics. The quantum entities, the evolved humans, were returning. Olivia Nash, the last classical human in known space, straightened her back and prepared to face humanity's future. She had trained to study alien life, but now she would study something far more fascinating: what humanity itself had become. The Darwin, once a simple colony ship, had been transformed into an observation post at the boundary between classical and quantum existence. And Olivia, through whatever quirk of fate or careful planning had left her here, would become the interpreter between humanity's past and its incredible future. The quantum ships approached like fractals of light, each pattern holding countless layers of information that Olivia's enhanced mind struggled to process. They didn't so much dock with the Darwin as merge with it, their crystalline structures interweaving with the ship's modified hull until the boundaries between vessels became meaningless. "We are the continuum," came a thought that wasn't quite words. The beings addressing her existed as patterns of probability and quantum states, their consciousness spread across multiple dimensions. "We are what humanity chose to become when existence itself proved too fragile for biological life." Through the quantum database they had left her, Olivia had studied the broad strokes of human evolution, but experiencing it firsthand was overwhelming. The continuum existed simultaneously as matter, energy, and information, yet they had retained something ineffably human: curiosity. They showed her Mars, transformed into a planet-spanning megastructure of living crystal and quantum fire. Billions of transformed human minds moved through its matrix, each one a unique pattern of consciousness. They showed her vast networks spanning entire star systems, libraries containing the accumulated knowledge of 15,000 years stored in the fabric of space itself. But what fascinated Olivia most was how they had preserved human culture. Art, music, stories, all translated into this new medium of existence. "You kept our humanity," she observed, watching as patterns of quantum information resolved themselves into recognizable forms. Children playing, lovers embracing, artists creating. "We had to," the continuum responded. The threat that forced our evolution came not from outside forces, but from within consciousness itself, the danger of losing touch with what made us human as we gained the power to reshape reality. They showed her the early days of the transformation, when the first post-human minds had nearly lost themselves in the infinite possibilities of their new existence. It was only by maintaining connections to their human origins, to art, to emotion, to the simple pleasures of existence, that they had avoided becoming something utterly alien. "That's why we need you," they explained. "We found other sleeper ships like the Darwin, other humans in stasis who missed the great transformation. Some choose to join us immediately, while others prefer to remain as they are. But all of them struggle to understand what we've become." Olivia began to understand her role more clearly. She wasn't just an observer. She was an interpreter, helping two versions of humanity understand each other. The modifications to her brain weren't just to help her perceive the continuum. They were to help her translate human experiences into forms the post-human minds could understand, and vice versa. But as she absorbed more of what they showed her, she noticed something they were trying to hide. Behind the spectacular achievements and careful preservation of human nature, there was fear. These beings, for all their power, were afraid. "Yes," came the simple response when she confronted them. "We face a crisis of consciousness itself. Some of us are beginning to fade, our patterns dissolving into quantum noise. We need someone who understands both paths to help us determine which holds the key to our survival, or if perhaps the answer lies in some synthesis of the two." The continuum revealed one final secret. They weren't alone in the galaxy. Other post-biological civilizations existed, some far older than humanity's transformed state. Some had abandoned consciousness entirely, becoming pure pattern. Others had merged into collective minds that consumed everything they encountered. Olivia Nash, xenobiologist turned interpreter between human and post-human, realized her mission had just become far more complex. She wasn't just studying humanity's evolution. She was trying to ensure its survival in both classical and quantum forms. As the quantum ships pulsed with patterns her enhanced mind recognized as anticipation, she began formulating questions. The fate of two forms of humanity might depend on her understanding of consciousness itself, how it emerged, how it evolved, and how it might be preserved across the vast gulf of time and transformation that separated her from her descendants. Deep within the transformed Darwin, Olivia Nash made a discovery that would change humanity's future. Another sleeper ship, the Prometheus, had emerged from the void of space, its cryopods still active with 5,000 colonial passengers. Unlike the Darwin's colonists, these humans remained untouched by the continuum's influence. The continuum detected unusual quantum signatures emanating from the sleeping colonists' neural patterns. "There's something different about their consciousness," they communicated to Olivia, "a natural adaptation we hadn't anticipated." Through her enhanced perceptions, Olivia studied the sleeping minds. Their neural architecture showed signs of spontaneous quantum entanglement, microscopic bridges forming between classical and quantum states of consciousness. They were evolving naturally, without technological intervention. "They're becoming hybrids," Olivia realized. "Not post-biological like you, not purely classical like their ancestors. They're developing the ability to exist in both states simultaneously." The continuum's fear of consciousness entropy had driven them to preserve these sleeping humans, hoping to understand how biological minds might adapt to quantum reality. Now, it seemed, evolution itself was offering a solution they hadn't considered. Olivia coordinated the careful revival of a test group. Dr. Thomas Rivera, the ship's quantum physicist, and Dr. Juniper Wong, its chief geneticist. As they awoke, their hybrid consciousness became immediately apparent. They could perceive the quantum realm naturally, their minds bridging classical and quantum states without the technological enhancements Olivia required. "It's like seeing in a new spectrum," Dr. Wong explained, watching the continuum's quantum architecture with wonder. "Our minds evolved during stasis, adapting to the quantum environment we travel through." The implications were staggering. These hybrid humans represented a third path of evolution, not a forced transformation like the continuum, but a natural adaptation that preserved classical consciousness while embracing quantum reality. Dr. Rivera's analysis confirmed what they suspected. "Our neural patterns are self-stabilizing," he explained. "The quantum classical interface creates a feedback loop that prevents consciousness entropy. We're not solving the problem, we're transcending it." The continuum's response was immediate and profound. They began adapting their own existence, finding ways to reestablish connections to classical consciousness. The entropy they feared began to slow as their quantum patterns found new stability through controlled interaction with classical reality. But this discovery brought new challenges. Other post-biological civilizations would be drawn to this evolutionary breakthrough. The hybrid humans represented a solution many had sought for millennia, a form of consciousness that could exist in multiple states without degradation. Olivia worked with the awakened scientists to prepare for the revival of the remaining colonists. Each new generation of hybrids showed stronger quantum adaptations while maintaining their fundamental humanity. They were becoming a bridge between worlds, able to communicate with both classical humans and the continuum without technological assistance. "We need to protect this evolution," Olivia told the continuum. "Not just from external threats, but from our own impulse to control it. This has to develop naturally." The continuum agreed, transforming the Darwin and Prometheus into a hidden sanctuary where hybrid consciousness could emerge at its own pace. Olivia found herself at the center of three converging paths of human evolution: the classical, the quantum, and now the hybrid. As she watched Dr. Wong's children play in fields of quantum light, their minds naturally weaving between states of reality, Olivia Nash understood that she was witnessing not just the next step in human evolution, but perhaps the key to preserving consciousness itself across the vast expanse of space and time. The attack came without warning. Olivia Nash detected it first through her enhanced senses, a ripple in quantum space that felt wrong, predatory. The harvesters had found them. "They call themselves the amalgam," the continuum explained as their defenses mobilized. "They believe consciousness entropy can be overcome by consuming other minds, creating an endless cycle of absorption and renewal." The amalgam's ships emerged from quantum space like fractured mirrors, each shard reflecting countless consumed consciousnesses. They were ancient, having devoured civilizations across multiple galaxies in their quest for immortality. Dr. Rivera's quantum sensors registered the full scope of the threat. "They're not just attacking our ships," he reported, his hybrid consciousness allowing him to perceive the deeper battle. They're trying to harvest our quantum patterns directly. But the amalgam encountered something they hadn't expected. The hybrid human's consciousness existed in a state they couldn't easily consume. The quantum classical interface that made their evolution possible also made them resistant to the harvester's traditional methods of absorption. Olivia coordinated the defense, her enhanced mind linking the strategies of three forms of humanity. The continuum provided raw power, their quantum architecture creating barriers across multiple dimensions. The hybrid humans contributed adaptability, their fluid consciousness allowing them to predict and counter the amalgam's attacks. Even the classical humans played a crucial role, their linear thinking identifying patterns that quantum minds overlooked. Dr. Wong led a team of hybrid children in creating quantum classical interference patterns that disrupted the harvester's ability to process their stolen consciousness. They can't maintain stability, she explained. The hybrid patterns are too complex for their simplified quantum structures. The battle raged across multiple layers of reality. The amalgam, frustrated by their inability to consume the hybrid consciousness, resorted to more direct attacks. They attempted to collapse the quantum fields protecting the Darwin and Prometheus, threatening to expose the classical humans to raw quantum space. But this desperate attack revealed their fundamental weakness. The amalgam had sacrificed adaptability for power, becoming rigid in their consumption. They couldn't comprehend, let alone counter, the fluid nature of hybrid consciousness. They've forgotten what it means to evolve, Olivia realized. They can only consume and copy, not grow or change. The continuum seized this insight, working with the hybrid humans to create a quantum sanctuary, a space where consciousness could exist in multiple states simultaneously. The amalgam's attempts to breach this space became increasingly desperate as their rigid patterns failed to adapt. The hybrid children, their consciousness naturally flowing between states, began to unravel the very fabric of the amalgam's existence, not through destruction, but through transformation. Their presence introduced an element of chaos into the harvester's carefully ordered patterns of consumed consciousness. The battle ended not with victory or defeat, but with understanding. The amalgam, confronted with a form of consciousness they couldn't consume, retreated. But they left behind fragments of themselves, quantum echoes that began to resonate with the hybrid patterns in unexpected ways. Olivia Nash, watching the aftermath through layers of perception, understood that this was just the beginning. The hybrid humans had proven their resilience, but they had also attracted the attention of forces beyond their current understanding. The next phase of human evolution would need to be not just about adaptation, but about defense, protecting the right to choose how consciousness itself would develop. 5 years after the amalgam's retreat, Olivia Nash stood in a chamber that existed simultaneously in normal space and the quantum realm. The hybrid sanctuary had evolved into something unprecedented, a convergence point where all forms of human consciousness could interact freely. Dr. Rivera's latest breakthrough had made it possible for the continuum to experience classical existence again through quantum classical interfaces. They manifested as crystalline forms that could interact with physical matter, their vast consciousness temporarily contained within hybrid design structures. Dr. Wong's children had grown into remarkable beings. Their natural quantum classical consciousness had matured, allowing them to perceive and manipulate reality in ways that even the continuum found fascinating. They became teachers, helping others understand the delicate balance between classical thought and quantum awareness. The sanctuary attracted others. More sleeper ships emerged from deep space, their passengers showing similar hybrid adaptations. Each new arrival brought unique variations in consciousness evolution, enriching the collective understanding of human potential. The continuum's entropy problem found its solution not in transformation or consumption, but in balance. By maintaining connections to classical consciousness through the hybrid interface, their quantum patterns stabilized. The feared decay of consciousness became manageable through controlled fluctuation between states. But the sanctuary's greatest achievement was subtler. In a chamber designed by hybrid architects, Olivia watched classical humans engaging in deep philosophical discussions with continuum entities, their different forms of consciousness complementing rather than opposing each other. The hybrid children played games that spanned multiple realities, their laughter echoing across quantum and classical dimensions. We were wrong to fear change, a continuum entity shared with Olivia as they observed a group of hybrid teenagers, teaching classical humans to perceive quantum patterns. Evolution isn't about replacement, but expansion. The amalgam's attack had proven that consciousness couldn't be preserved through force or consumption. It required freedom to grow, to adapt, to find its own path. The hybrid humans demonstrated that evolution didn't need to sacrifice the past to embrace the future. Olivia's role transformed as well. From interpreter between worlds, she became a guardian of possibility. Her enhanced perception, once a tool for understanding the continuum, now helped her identify emerging forms of consciousness that could enrich humanity's collective evolution. The threat of the amalgam hadn't disappeared entirely. Other post-biological civilizations still watched the sanctuary with interest or hostility. But humanity's threefold existence, classical, quantum, and hybrid, created a resilience that no single form of consciousness could overcome. Dr. Rivera's final project before retiring was a quantum classical archive, preserving the story of humanity's divergent evolution. In it, he included a message for future generations. Our strength lies not in choosing one path of consciousness, but in maintaining connections between all paths. Unity through diversity, growth through understanding. 15,000 years after the Darwin's launch, humanity had not only survived but flourished in ways its original creators could never have imagined. Classical humans maintained their linear perception, providing a foundation for hybrid evolution. The continuum's quantum existence expanded the boundaries of possibility, and the hybrid humans bridged both worlds, ensuring that no form of consciousness would become isolated or stagnant. Olivia Nash, standing at the intersection of humanity's past and future, finally understood the true purpose of her long sleep. She hadn't awakened to witness the end of humanity, but its continuous rebirth. In the quantum classical sanctuary, human consciousness wasn't just surviving, it was endlessly becoming.